But either way, that's crazy to be giving government issued ID to an illegal immigrant. Like that's insane. Like that's not what serious countries don't do like that.
They're fine with giving the illegals ID, but if you ask them to get their voters to get any identification before they vote, it's like, oh my God, that's so racist. How dare you?
Yeah, they got to change that. That's fucking
What
ridiculous.
Do you think a black man could just get an ID? Do you know how many hoops and hurdles you have to jump through to have your photograph?
You have to have a bill and an address. And it's like, okay. And
know your social security number.
Know your social, and you have to be a citizen.
Usually I need the card, the social security card or birth certificate, something like that.
Yeah, they allow, there's like 10 different documents and they want like a combination of 3 or 4. I think they almost gamify it.
But it's not as easy as like a utility bill and you're set. Yeah. I haven't understood the Democrats.
16-year-old me did it on day 1. I turned 16 on May 9th. That day I had it all wrapped up.
Same. Not on May 9th.
New Jersey was not as efficient. They made me wait. Like you couldn't apply like for your permit or something. I wanted my license the day I turned 17 because Jersey's 17, and I couldn't get it. I was like, it's 2 months later or something.
We were there as soon as the DMV opened, and I drove my mom's car for the test because I don't know why. It was stupid because I had only driven trucks my whole life. And I hit a couple of cones, and I was like, I usually don't hit things. I was like, this is not representative of my actual skill. And he was like, you're good. Don't worry about it.
Really?
Oh,
you didn't give a fuck?
Nah, I crushed a couple cones. He didn't fucking care.
I had my own car before I had a license, and I drove it a lot. Thankfully, I never got caught. And so I took my driver's license test in my own car, a stick shift Volkswagen GTI.
Nice.
I took mine in a much less cool car, a 98, I want to say. No, 99 Honda Accord. Nice. So I wasn't feeling that slick. But the giant fat lady who gave me the test was very sweet. And so I remember that.
I think I was in a 2002 Nissan Altima. Pretty sure.
2002? Are you from the future?
Wow.
It was brand new at the time.
It wasn't the 90s when we all got our license.
You have just a couple of 90s kids. That's so funny.
I don't understand that about like this look, I get people kind of being in their cell phones. I'm in my cell phone. That makes sense. But I don't understand the not wanting to have a driver's license and a car.
Bananas.
And I know that it's like way more expensive than it used to be. And look, my dad would tell me stories when I was turning 16 about how cheap it was when he was a kid. It's like when we were 16, we just go get a car. They were just there for the taking. You know, they'd be like a broke down car for $50 that you could put together enough that you and your boys could go to town and you know, like party or whatever. And then when I was 16, you had to have like, I don't know, $5,000 at least. Now I know it's probably 10 grand, but like, dude, my life's ambition would be saving 10 grand and getting my driver's license if I'm 14 or 15. Like it would be so vitally important to me to have wheels when I'm 16 and be able to go anywhere. You know what I mean? Like it's a superpower, and it's amazing. It's so freeing. The horizon is suddenly open. No one can tell you no. You don't have to depend on anybody. There's no older sister or uncle or cousin who has to drive you to practice or the store or to a girl's house. My God, don't y'all want to get pussy? What's wrong with
I was going to say that.
Yeah.
You know how as an adult, women like men with money? Like that's an attractive feature in a partner. In high school, girls like boys with cars. Like that's an attractive feature in a potential boyfriend. Like you're going to be able to go places, movies, have, you know, alone time, whatever.
You know, something else I liked? It was like, man, mom's making green bean casserole tonight. That does not sound good. She cannot stop me from getting food on the way home.
Sure.
Someone stopping at Wendy's.
We're pre-gaming dinner.
I remember I would do like childish, like when I turned 16, I remember one night I went to every fast food restaurant in town. There's only like 6, but I got all of their desserts, and that's what I had for dinner. Because I got my own car and my own fucking money. So I'm going to get the cream pie from fucking Burger King, and I'm going to get the apple pie from McDonald's. I'm going to get a Frosty from Wendy's. And I'm going to go to Taco Bell, get the Cinnabon things or whatever. And I just had dessert for dinner. I brought it home. My dad said, what is that? I was like, I got dessert from every restaurant in town because I'm a big boy and I do what I want. It's like, why don't y'all want that power? And also, it's a fuck mobile. You know,
feels good.
You get some finger banging in the back seat if you got one. Like it's everything.
Even if you don't have your own car.
One in that elementary school parking lot at night.
Not at night. And I shot the light out. So even if they were, they couldn't see. They couldn't see, Taylor.
Except for that one policeman who rolled up.
like even if you don't have your own car, like hopefully your parents would let you drive theirs on occasion, and like you should still get the license. Like I remember a friend of mine who was in my grade, but the way our ages lined up, he was like 9 months older than me, which when you're 16, 9 months is like if your friend gets their license 9 months before you Huge. Feel like it's an eon. It's like, oh my God, this is a whole school year. And I remember I had my license for like 6 months and he still hadn't gotten his, which meant he was like over 17 in 2 or 3 months. And I just was like, dude, why don't you get your fucking license? And he's like, oh, I'll just get around to it. And it's like, okay, what you really mean is like me and the other guys are gonna like pick you up and drive you. Like, just why would you not want this? This is the first iota of actual freedom we're offered in life, and to not immediately pounce on it, doesn't even register with me.
There was a guy that didn't get his driver. This is how rare it was when I was in high school. I knew a guy who didn't have his driver's license, and it was like, what the fuck? Why doesn't Nick have a license? His dad has race cars. It doesn't his uncle drive racing go-karts? They're like a car family. There's extra cars around. Cool cars are extra lying around. And they're like, oh yeah, Nick can't really read that well. And I was like, what the fuck do you mean Nick can't read that well? You mean he can't pass a driver's test? He's like,
yeah. There's like two
he
words
doesn't
on
like
the road.
To talk about it. And it turned out this guy that we all thought was a normie that had been like blending with the rest of us humans, didn't know how to fucking read, and he was a grown ass. And I don't think he ever got a driver's license, Taylor. When we graduated, that motherfucker was still bumming rides, and I thought, this is the epitome of a fucking loser. This guy can't get a job. This guy has to, like, he rides in his girlfriend's car. I went on a double date with this guy one time. I'm driving and I'm thinking in my head, like, you're lucky you're in my car. What would you do? Walk to the movies, bro? Like, what do you normally do?
Yeah,
it was pathetic. I couldn't believe that he didn't have a driver's license.
Yeah, and it's inconsiderate to the people.
All of the people, even the people, I say, like, all the poor kids had driver's license. I took driver's ed, and the kid in my car, Ronald, was very poor. It was evident he was poor. He had like 3 changes of clothes. You know, he couldn't make it through the whole week without wearing the same shit again. But he had a driver's license. He'd never driven a car before though, because his parents didn't have a car. So driver's ed was terrifying with that kid. Like, I'd been driving on a farm my whole life. I could drive. Like, I would drive around the roads around our farm and stuff, and stick shifts and big trucks, backing trailers up. I had done enough driving that I could operate a motor vehicle and no one would notice, or I'd never make a mistake when we drove down the road. This kid was a wreck every day. The coach had an emergency brake, and I just remember we came to a fork in the road, and there was a tree in the middle, and it's go left or go right. You're not supposed to go right. Clearly, we're going left. That's the curve of the road, but you could go right, I guess. But not the tree, Ronald. The tree! And and the coach has to slam on the brake that he has on the passenger side of the car, and it threw me into the front of the car because I wasn't buckled up. And I'm just up there between them, like, what the fuck happened? It was like 8 a.m. driver's ed. That's where it was when 9/11 happened.
My favorite piece of early freedom. Before a driver's license in New Jersey at 15, you could get a moped license. It was the nerdiest form of transportation. Nobody thought you were cool. No one confused them with motorcycles, especially as you pedaled it to get it going. But it was freedom. And I could go to like nearby towns and stuff. There was a pool hall on the mainland that you had to be 17 to get in, the driver's license age. We would roll up on our mopeds, hide it so they didn't know like we were moped riders, and hand them our moped license. And they didn't check the birth dates. They were just like, has a license, must be 17. And we would play pool with our like fake IDs.
That's not where the pedophile approached you, is it?
No, that was a different. That is a good question.
He had well aged
at that point. Yeah, I was too old for that man at that point.
Yeah,
that guy was on to greener pastures.
Damaged goods for him by that point. You were all blown out.
You couldn't get your license till
that point. I'm ruined.
You can't get license till 17?
Had too many bows
in New Jersey.
That's New Jersey weird. 7. You can get a learner's permit at 16 and a half. But
okay.
Driver's
we
license
do 15 for the learners in Georgia, so I drove us to school.
That's what ours is.
like between 15 and 16, I would often drive us to and from school. Like my dad would pick me up from school and he'd hop in the passenger seat or vice versa on the way to school. But mostly like I had driven enough that the novelty was gone. And like, I just knew how to drive when I was 15.
I tried in my high school, there was a guy here and there, like in other grades, none of my friends, but they had Pennsylvania driver's license. Like maybe their parents were divorced or something. And I was like, Mom, I got to get a Pennsylvania driver's license. But their license plate literally says you have a friend in Pennsylvania. So it's like, Mom, the writing's on the wall. All I need is a friend in Pennsylvania with an address, and I could get a license there.
I bet you could have rigged something, right? Like
if my mom let me, I could.
If she'd allowed you to use your friend's address,
perhaps, right?
Yeah, because that's not going to matter for a kid, ever anyway. I think it's like a misdemeanor, or I don't even know if
how do you
even get the wrong address
to the law. Like, what do they want? A utility bill from a 15-year-old?
Yeah. I think you'd be good there.
I think I had to go. I think my mom had to be there with me with a couple pieces of paperwork when I got my actual license. Like I couldn't have gone. Like she had to. Well, obviously she had to be there because if I would have driven myself, they would have not been okay with that.
Shit, I'd have walked.
Didn't have a license.
I'd have walked if
I was not walking distance.
I wasn't either, but I'd have made it happen. I'm telling you, like that was. I had not wanted anything more.
I skipped school that day. Like we did it that day, like as on my birthday, and then afterward, my mom was always fast and loose with the rules, and she was like,
white kids.
I was like, Mom, do I have to go to school? And it was like 10:05 a.m. Easily could have made it for most of the day, and she's like, Nah, have fun, just drive around. And so I was like, hell yeah, just drove around, like go and like buy a Diet Coke, drink all that, go to a drive-through. I'm totally alone. All my friends are in school.
Right. And you're literally reminiscing about this now.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a good memory.
On top of that, gasoline was so cheap then, and it's not just inflation, like gas was just cheap. I remember gas being like 90 cents or something like that for a long time. So you could just burn a tank of gas and you wouldn't care. It was only $15 or something like that.
I wish I had experience.
I would skip first period and just drive 20, 30 miles to the mall and walk around the mall and go to Lids and buy a hat and then drive 30 miles back to high school and do second period.
When I got my license, we invaded Iraq for the first time. I was like, God damn it.
Why does that matter?
Because it raised the price of fuel by so much. It was up by like 40% or something.
I bet. They were burning those oil fields on the way out. That's some of the most apocalyptic imagery ever. The burning Kuwaiti oil fields. There's some angles of sunsets through those that are just beautifully horrible.